So when I win, I will immediately bring prices down starting on day one.
We'll get to that in a minute, but first, let's take a look at idiocracy at its finest. We have officially renamed the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. Boy, if that's not a distraction, I don't know what is. Now, the only ones that are going to be using this are probably the MAGA people or very conservative people. I don't see everyone in the US using the Gulf of America, and definitely people outside of America won't be using that. In fact, the maps on Google are still going to say Gulf of Mexico and in parentheses Gulf of America whenever it's not in America. Now, that's not too different because there are different places in the world that do have multiple names, and Google takes their recommendation and kind of puts things in parentheses or changes their name. If you look at Turkey on the map, they have their own spelling. However, we have it different in our textbooks. I mean, right here it says the name change will only appear to users in the US. Users in Mexico will continue to see the Gulf of Mexico. So again, we're literally just going to look like more stupid Americans, especially if we travel abroad and we're using names that no one else on the planet uses. They also state, as long-standing practice, when official names vary between countries, Maps users see the official local name. However, everyone in the world sees both names. That applies here too. But this doesn't come without a little bit of pushback. So Claudia Sheinbaum, the president of Mexico, is trying to push back on it. They said, for us, it's still the Gulf of Mexico as it is for the entire world. It's still the Gulf of Mexico. And she went on to some legalities. So she is trying to push back on Google a bit. She said if a country wants to change the designation of something in the sea, it would only apply to up to 12 nautical miles. It cannot apply to the rest, in this case, the Gulf of Mexico. And that's what they explained to Google. Now, the biggest thing that I see is that, again, it's going to push us further and further away from making great relationships with these other countries. I know Trump doesn't like other countries and he's really a nationalist, and he thinks that for some reason that we're being used by other countries. However, we're indebted to a lot of other countries. Our national debt is through the roof. We actually pay more in interest on our debt than almost anything, definitely more than military spending. I just hate it when we go to do something, it's going to make us look like idiots. And with just keeping that same thought process, let's take a look at what else we have to do with Mexico. I mean, Trump still plans on removing a ton of undocumented immigrants. Now, a lot of those are migrant workers and migrant farm workers. So again, I said I was going to wrap back around to our increasing prices over at the grocery store. Well, this is a subject that's probably going to throw those through the roof. So deporting people that shouldn't be here is probably not such a bad thing, and it definitely sets an example. However, in this case, we've got probably pretty good people doing work that nobody else will do. I don't know how many middle-aged men are going to be willing to go out and pick bananas or strawberries or whatever. Not only that, we're probably going to have to pay them a lot more, which isn't a bad thing. However, we should expect to see increased costs at the grocery store. I mean, if you used to pay somebody minimum wage to do it and somebody else expects a higher wage, you're going to have to make up the difference somewhere. But don't take it from me. Let's see what the farmers have to say. We have 5 to 6 employees that will do the work that nobody else will do. We wouldn't survive without them. His farm, which has been in the family for 3 decades, has 350 cows producing some 26,000 pounds of milk per day. My business and every agricultural business in the U.S. will be crippled if they want to get rid of everybody who does this work. Adding that his workers are worried about what's to come. Now again, a lot of people argue that they broke the law by coming into this country illegally. That's fine as long as we are willing to pay higher grocery costs. Farmers across the country, producers in a lot of different parts, are often talking about labor shortages, and that's even with the current status quo of having fairly high percentage of unauthorized individuals in the workforce. A policy like this, if it's not coupled with something else, would exacerbate that. So basically, they're already short on farm hands, and it's about to get shorter. My only point is I don't understand how people still believe a dude that says, I will bring down prices on day one. And that's obviously not the case. But don't take it from me. Let's see what he has to say. And again, I know people that voted for him believe 100% of everything he says. I'm more the middle of the road, so I think both sides are a bunch of idiots and kind of claim a lot of stuff that they can't produce. But look at this. Prices were a key issue on the campaign, but not anymore. He's not worried about you. They all said inflation was the number one issue. I said, I disagree. I think people coming into our country from prisons and mental institutions is a bigger issue for the people that I know. I talked about inflation too, but how many times can you say that an apple's doubled in cost? This guy doesn't care that an apple's doubled in cost. He's got billions of dollars. He just knows if he tells you, you're going to vote for him. I always felt that the border was first. It doesn't matter if it's first, second, or third. If you say you can do something on day one, do it on day one. Or don't say something like that. Maybe for us, don't believe something like that. Same goes with the war in Ukraine. I can stop that war in 24 hours. Oh, again, don't take it from me.
I would sit down. Let me just put it a nicer way. If I'm president, I will have that war settled in one day, 24 hours.
How would you settle that?
Yeah, I don't know. All right, gang, thanks for dropping by. And if this is your type of content, don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you tomorrow.